Higher interest rates and crime in America, and government choppers landed at my old neighbor's estate. Today, I read an article on ZeroHedge.com written by Tyler Durden, likely a pseudonym for writers at Zero Hedge, titled, "As Inflation Rises, Prepare for Crime." The author of this article said global central bankers can't seem to agree on what steps are needed to cool inflation back down to reasonable levels. He went on to say, with no hope of ever setting interest rates truly high enough to properly tame price increases and stop the debasement of their ever depreciating fiat currencies, inflation is set to keep ripping upward no matter what they decide. And when an increasing number of people can't afford basic necessities, it isn't rocket science, and it doesn't require a Ph.D. in economics to figure out what comes next. He's talking about crime. I'm going to stop here for a moment. I'm surprised we haven't heard more about crime increasing. Many Americans are being crushed by inflation, and their wages haven't kept pace with the rising cost of living. Some people can't even find full-time jobs in this new gig economy. Working multiple part-time jobs and trying to survive has to be frustrating. I've seen countless videos online that have been uploaded by young people who don't understand how their parents were able to buy a home in a nice area, afford a new car, have children, take vacations, and set aside money for retirement while they are stuck living at home and still living paycheck to paycheck and doing their best to pay back their student loans. Whenever I read about retail theft, organized crime is often to blame. I personally question that. I'm not saying that isn't part of it, but some retail stores are locking up underwear now because of theft. Are these organized crime rings really stealing underwear? I have to wonder if some of this crime is because of desperate people who simply don't have the money to buy what they need. If you work retail or know someone who works retail, tell me about it in the comment section below. I'd really like to get your take on retail crime. I'm sure some crime that is happening is due to drugs. When people get hooked on drugs, they often need money to buy them. I had a ladder stolen out of my garage many years ago when the door was left open. A police report was filed, and I never thought the ladder would be seen again. Quite some time passed, and a really rough-looking guy knocked on my door. I was reluctant to open the door. When I did, he started lifting up his shirt. I wondered if he was going to pull out a weapon. When he lifted up his shirt, he had a police badge attached to his belt. He said he was an undercover police officer and they had raided a drug house in the city and found a mountain of stolen property, including a ladder that matched the description of the one on the police report. Apparently, this drug dealer would trade stolen property for drugs if people didn't have the money to buy them. The story about how the police found this drug house is really interesting. A grandmother, and I'm guessing she wasn't that old, had her car stolen. She was driving a rental car in the interim. She was at the gas station pumping gas, and a car pulled in that looked just like her car that was stolen. She looked in the back seat, and her grandkid's car seat was still in the back, so she knew for sure it was her car. She yelled at the guy pumping gas and said, "Hey, you stole my car." She was really angry and charged him. Then he took off running. She started chasing after him. People at the gas station called the police. Apparently, the police were close by and they saw this woman chasing the guy, and right as they pulled up, she tackled him. I'd really like to know what this grandmother looked like. It makes me think of this line from the movie called Dazed and Confused, where one of the coaches is talking to the high school football players. He says, "My grandmother is quicker and tougher than you pansies. Of course, she's 6'3", 250. Anyway, the police arrested this guy and interrogated him, and he told the police he was taking the stolen car to a drug house that was going to give him money for it. They raided the drug house and found the ladder there, along with all types of other property. Another interesting part of this story related to a medical office in the city that started getting very hot in the summer. They called an HVAC company to come out and fix the system. The technician said, "We can't fix your system because the outside units have had their lines cut and they have been stolen. Well, the police found those HVAC systems at the drug house as well. When we hear about all of the drugs coming across the border in the news, they can make their way across the country. When people get hooked on drugs, they may get desperate, and that's when crime may happen. Here's my point. Not all crime is due to inflation, and not all crime is due to organized crime. Getting back to the article, the author said car thefts rose an astonishing 28.5% between 2019 and 2023. Well, car prices rose to crazy levels after 2020, and so did the cost of parts and labor, so this doesn't surprise me. Back in the Wild West, people needed a horse to get around. In modern times, most people need a car to get around unless they live in an area with good public transportation. I'm sure some people got desperate and resorted to auto theft. Some of this theft is due to carjackings. I'm sure some of these stolen cars were shipped to other countries for a profit. There is a criminology professor at the University of Miami named Alex Picaro who believes some of this crime is due to how easy it is to steal some Kia and Hyundai models. I watched a YouTube video about this. Some people can use the end of a USB-A cord to start some of these cars. I also read an article on thedrive.com written by Rob Stumpf titled, "How Thieves Are Stealing Hyundais and Kias Just with a USB Cable." According to the author, the steering column cover can be removed and the key slot can be dismantled. Then, a USB cable can be used to turn the ignition tumbler to start the vehicle and release the steering lock. You have to wonder who first discovered this is possible with a USB-A cable. If some people would only use their intellect to help mankind, we would be in better shape as a nation. Talking about all of this vehicle theft reminds me of a story from my childhood. Until tragedy impacted my family, we were pretty affluent. There were a lot of big estate homes where I grew up, and they all had multiple acre lots. Many had long winding driveways leading back to the homes, which you couldn't always see from the road. My father was a successful architect who designed buildings all over the world, but I always wondered how some of these other people afforded these homes. Well, one day I found out when some government helicopters landed at the neighbor's house and it was raided. Apparently, this neighbor was chopping up stolen Corvettes in the large garage that he had, and he was selling all of the parts. He wasn't selling stolen Corvette parts out of desperation. This was his business. This is how he afforded his lifestyle. He ended up going to prison for a very long time. Somehow, his wife still kept the house. I always wondered why the government didn't confiscate it. Getting back to the theme of the original article today, what do you think about inflation resulting in crime? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.